Here are some of the headlines concerning the ongoing crisis and standoff in Nevada. The feds are calling it an emergency. A BLM action in Nevada is unconstitutional. Kurt Nemo breaks down a report on Section 8, Clause 17 of the Constitution out of Article 1. We've also got county commissioner says Bundy supporters better have funeral plans. That's a Democrat in response to people who've had 140 plus years of the grazing rights to the property. They just tell them the answer is death. You know, the answer is they better be ready to die. Meanwhile, Republican commissioners and the state legislatures are calling it the new Tiananmen Square. They attacked more people yesterday, more attacks, more tasers, more women attacked. That's just some of the news. BLM feds assault more protesters as First Amendment area taken down. That's all up at Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com. The right-hand side of Drudge also is covering it in great detail. And I'm told a bunch of armed militia has shown up, and I'm all for the militia. And I'm sure this is probably a nice militia. I have been made aware of some folks in and around the area that have been, well, identified previously as troublesome. And I would just say that just because someone says they're in the militia does not necessarily mean that it's not a federal provocateur arm. And again, I'm not talking about any of the specific players here. I'm just saying that if I was the feds, I would insert provocateurs into it as propaganda to then be able to demonize the larger land rights movement. And I'm not saying that's happening here, but certainly folks need to be watchful for those type of activities. But several militias have shown up in the area, and I'm sure they're great. I support the militia under the Second Amendment. The people to be armed, and I think folks that go there for self-defense should be armed. I do not think that anyone should start something offensively with the BLM. When they taser women, when they body slam women, when they attack people for the First Amendment, they lose. And Congress, the Senate, the state is all turning against the feds right now. And quite frankly, if people follow Mahatma Gandhi, we would hope that the BLM would actually club people in the head on camera, and that would destroy them and reverse their entire land grab movement. If a firefight breaks out, well, then that might be the shot heard around the world, and we're into the Civil War Obama wants to play Lincoln and the guy on the white horse saving everybody. And then they're going to start race wars and all other forms of division in this country. I want to avert that, folks. Homeland Security's lined up for a race war, lined up for a takeover. The whole pump's primed so the Attorney General can commit any crime he wants. And if you criticize him, you're a racist, as we just played earlier. Now, we're joined for the next 10 minutes, and I'll get into all the huge news from Senator Sessions and others, Sebelius resigning. They're from the town and the county bordering Arizona. They're in Nevada. Here's CBS News. Expect to see a band of soldiers. Militia members arrive at Nevada Ranch. County commissioner says Bundy supporters better have funeral plans. Militias mobilizing to support embattled Clark County rancher in clash with federal rangers. And again, if they're real militia, which I bet they are, I think they're heroes. I just hope they conduct themselves like the men at Bunker Hill. Okay, don't fire first, but if they mean to have a war, then it'll start here. If that's the way it is, that's the way it is. But I just don't want to see us pull the trigger first. Let's go now to Cliven Bundy. Sir, thank you for talking to us. I know you're relaying messages to him there. Get an update from him, what he thinks about the militias, new attacks on citizens. Is Cliven Bundy concerned about physical clashes? And then I want him to have the floor to talk about any new developments.
Mr. Bundy, Alex wants to know if you're concerned about militias here and any clashes. What's your attitude about people showing up here?
I'm not concerned about people showing up here. I actually welcome them. We need numbers. We need people of America to show up here and exercise their rights. I am not telling anybody to come, and I'm not telling anybody anything what they're supposed to do, except the governor and the sheriff of Clark County. I'll tell them what they ought to be doing.
What would you tell them to do?
Well, I'd tell the governor, I'd say, hey, you back up Nevada law, and you take care of your brand inspector, the Department of Agriculture. They're supposed to be protecting my property, not destroying them, not signing my name on the bottom of brand certificates.
And you have recovered a couple of more head of cattle today, haven't you? Some people from out of state came in and got some back for you, didn't they?
Yes, we got cowboys here on the ranch, and they're ranching. They're putting cattle in here. We're working them, branding them, and doing what we normally do. We'll wean some cattle and probably sell some cattle. And then we're going to continue to have a ranch operation going on, and the rest of you can join in and enjoy it.
And I think that's one of the key things, isn't it, is that you're concerned that the sheriff as well as the governor are not doing what they could do to de-escalate this and to really do their jobs to enforce the law. They have the law enforcement authority here, not the BLM. I've never seen the BLM even on any ballots to see if I agree with any of their policies.
You know, the Constitution is a supreme law of the land. If you read the Constitution, it don't say anything about United States Army being here dealing with my private property or your citizen rights and access to your public lands. If I was the governor of the United States, or not the governor of the state of Nevada, I'd tell these people to get out of my state. Get your army out of my state. You have no jurisdiction or authority here.
That's right. And there's nothing in the Constitution either about endangered species. Essentially, the 10th Amendment says if they don't specifically mention it, then the federal government doesn't have authority to do that. If people want to do something about endangered species, that really should happen at the state or local level, shouldn't it?
Well, it should be. Our custom and culture, our lifestyle is here. But you know how the United States get involved with endangered species? It's through the treaty acts with other countries. If this tortoise was bought out of a pet store in Las Vegas, it would probably come under the Endangered Species Act. In other words, it's a commerce between two countries. But what about this desert tortoise that never crossed into Mexico or even crossed the state line? It's here in Nevada, been here in Nevada. The Endangered Species
red herring.
Act is not involved.
David, I want to...
It don't qualify.
Sure.
Yes, go ahead, Alex.
No, just ask the rancher at the center of this, if he just joined us out in Nevada, Mr. Bundy. Ask him to recap what's happened since we talked to him yesterday. More videos, more assaults. You guys got video of that. More feds arriving. The feds have now brought more BLM out of Arizona in, calling it an emergency. David, get him to give us a report on the latest developments.
We hear reports that they brought in more BLM out of Arizona, calling it an emergency. Last night, we had a couple of people get tasered and beat up and detained for a while, and then released. What have you heard about what's going on today?
Well, I know the BLM had a gathering of my cattle with the helicopters and armed forces around the Lake Mead area. I had some cattle on the west side of Lake Mead, and they were gathering those cattle. The protesters went down while I was trying to load those cattle and protested. Evidently, there was, I don't know what really happened, but there was at least 3 people arrested. Mm-hmm. And I don't know what ever happened to those people, whether they're in their jails or whether they turned them loose. I don't know.
Well, we went down. There were 3 people together. They essentially detained. They didn't officially arrest 2 of them for quite some time, but they roughed them up pretty good.
Are the feds acting more imperious and arrogant and aggressive now, or have they backed down? I mean, what is
your sense?
What is the bearing of them?
Are getting more aggressive or backing down or staying the same?
Well, I can tell you they backed down around this protest area and around the ranch headquarters. I don't see their presence. Their snipers and stuff are off the hills. They still have surveillance cameras out. I know that. So our presence around here, we the people have come, and the protesters, they have really made me feel a lot better about America right here. But they're still doing their dirty work at distant places on my ranch. Like yesterday, they was around along Lake Mead area, Overton Beach. They were still taking my cattle, and when the protesters found that out, they moved into that area, and of course, some of them got hassled.
We got some pictures yesterday from one of your sons. I was here, and as they came in, he had some pictures of some snipers, I think, somewhere. Where was that taken?
Those snipers have been all the way around my ranch. I don't know for sure exactly what pictures, but I've seen pictures where we see the snipers on top of the hills.
Yes,
that's when they assaulted his son, is when he got the photos of the paramilitary forces waging war on us.
Yeah, everybody has said that, and when we were down just at the protest area, they had some very close buttes, and they said they had some guys training rifles on them from up there, just at that short range. But I haven't seen any since I've been here because the demonstrators have pretty much scared them all off.
That's right. Get him to talk about what the legislator said when he's done.
Those,
hang on a second. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Alex.
No, just questions. Ask him about the legislators, what he thought about what they said, what he thinks about U.S. senators and people saying this looks like tyranny, looks like Tiananmen Square. Get him to talk about that, and then them destroying the water pipes and 100-year-old water cisterns that the cows and wildlife are living out there that humans have improved.
Alex wanted me to ask you about the encounter last night with a couple of state legislators that got kind of contentious. What do you think about their approach so far, and also about these water cisterns and that they destroyed the other night?
Well, the politicians, what can you say about them? I didn't really get involved. I stayed away because on purpose, these protesters were getting arrested at the same time the politicians were talking. And my advice, and this is what I said to my sons and everything, I said, why in the hell don't they go down there and take care of this problem, then come back and tell us?
That's right.
And anyway, that wasn't what happened. They was making a lot of noise, and I actually left and didn't really keep up with what went on there. But that was my thing. Why don't you go solve this problem, then come back and preach to us?
That's what I said. I said on air yesterday. He didn't hear me, but you were asking the question. I said if I was the politicians, I would become statesmen. They should have marched down and said, we're the state. Stop what you're doing. Let them have their grazing rights. You're a fraud. They'd be superstars. These politicians have no instincts.
Yes, absolutely. Alex is saying they ought to march down and demand that they stop doing what they're doing. They're telling us that they don't have any authority to do that, but they do have the moral authority. They do have the soapbox to stand up for your rights.
They have the state authority.
They have the state authority.
Well, sure, they got authority. Aren't we in a sovereign state of Nevada? These are elected officials, or wanting to be elected officials, and they do have authority. Our governor has authority to tell BLM and the federal government, you have no jurisdiction and authority here, get out of here. And our county government, the county sheriff, isn't his responsibility to protect us from people like that abuse that's been going on with these citizens? Yeah, that's his job. His job. What about those cattle that they're stealing? Them are private property, my property. Why the heck don't he arrest those rustlers?
That's right. That's what I asked the lady who was there. She kind of took the approach that, well, we just want to de-escalate this and make sure that nothing happens. It's like, well, you're talking to the wrong people. The people here are not starting anything. It's the people who are throwing ladies to the ground, grabbing them from behind. And I said, at what point does it stop? Are they allowed to rape people if they have the right uniform on?
And this is, what's the sheriff supposed to do? I mean, isn't his job to protect our life, liberty, and property? Isn't his job to keep peace here?
Well, in fairness, the governor has come out and slammed it and said it was illegal.
Thieves? I mean, these people are thieves.
Hang on a second. Yes, go ahead, Alex.
Well, no, the governor has now come out and said that he slammed it and said it's criminal. We just showed the headline. So the governor is now saying it's criminal.
What did the governor say? I haven't seen that headline. What did the governor say is criminal?
He came out and slammed it and said that they shouldn't be seizing his cattle.
Oh, good. The governor has now said that they should not be seizing your cattle, that's criminal.
Well, I'm good. I'm happy with that. The governor's got to start standing up and acting like he's a governor of the sovereign state of Nevada. If he said that, I'm happy.
Okay, I want him to be able to make any final points he wants to make, but my final question is, if we see him assaulting people every day, every evening it seems, is he concerned they're going to do it more and that they may push the wrong person?
Alex has one final question. He wanted to know, are you concerned that there's going to be more violence, that it's going to escalate, since we see them continuing to do what they're doing, even after they said that they were not going to limit the First Amendment to an area? They seem to, they still attacked those fellows last night.
Yeah, that was quite interesting. The governor did make a stand the other day and told them to take down the First Amendment area signs. I noticed they didn't go down, and they are still aggressive trying to get my cattle. So at this point, I would say the BLM is aggressive and continuing their what they think is their job to take me out of business. And the bad part of they're taking all of our rights and liberties here. This is a battle for liberty and justice, not justice, or liberty and freedom.
That's right. Any final words that you would like to, we'll give you the last word as you want to go out. Is there anything else you want to say about property rights, clarify the fact that if they take your grazing rights or water rights, they can take anybody's property rights. So.
Yeah, that's true. And, you know, my last word would be this morning, the day's starting out, let's go and fight for America and fight for our freedom, fight for our Constitution, and that's Governor and Sheriff, get some guts and come with us as citizens, and let's whip this battle. It's a battle for our freedoms and liberty across the United States. And I want to thank for all of the prayers and all of the thoughts. I'm really grateful for that. And it is helping. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Mr. Bundy. We really appreciate you taking a stand.
Yeah, tell Mr. Bundy thank you from Alex.
And Alex says thank you. Thank you very much.